advisory unit was on building relationships.
The lessons included in this 2-week unit were created to help students gain a better understanding of relationships. Building relationships requires students to rely on each other, communicate, work together, problem solve, and get to know each other on a personal level. Our lessons in this unit help students gain each of these attributes. For example, they will work in teams to reach a common goal. This unit covers several different learning styles in order to reach the needs of diverse learners.
Here were the breakdowns of our topics that we are covering in the 2 weeks. We did getting to know each other, building friendship, relying on each other, using communication to build relationships, using problem solving to build relationships, and then we did 4 days working together.
Okay, the objective for the first day was students will get to know their classmates and begin to build relationships. One of the things, I'm sure whenever you get to your first day of all your college classes, you do these little get to know each other things. I was going to have them write 3 statements. 2 of the statements would be true and 1 of them would be false, and then we would go around and the students would decide for each other which statements they thought were true and which were not. And in doing this, they start to make connections with each other, like, oh, I also have a brother and a sister, or things like that their statements would reveal. And then there would be another activity where they would make a straight line and the teacher would ask questions like, take 1 step forward if your parents are divorced. Take 2 steps if you've moved from state to state. And just things like that to get the students moving, get them getting to know each other, and talking to each other.
And then day 2 of week 1 was building friendship. And the objective was the students will understand what a good friend is and how to build that relationship. And to start out, I just had them doing a journal entry of what they thought a good friend was. And then I had them taking 2 note cards and punching a hole in the note cards and putting yarn through it. And they were going to write what they thought a good friend was, and then they were to keep 1 of them for themselves as a bookmark and 1 for a friend as a bookmark. And then they were doing, the second part of the activity was impromptu skits with a classmate, and they were going to take what they said in their journal about what a good friend was, and they're going to put them all in a bucket, and then the teacher would have somebody come up to the front and draw 1 out, and then they would kind of act out the scenario and have the students guess what kind of attribute that was of a good friend. And then the next one was relying on each other, and the students will write about how they rely on each other to build relationships with friends or family. And they will do another journal entry of what they have had to do to rely on someone. And then there's a game that goes along with this one, and it's called the Swamp Game. And you need an open classroom or an open area, maybe a gym, to do this. And the teacher will set out 7 pieces of construction paper, and those represent the islands or the land in the swamp. And then the students are working together on a team to try and get through the swamp, and they can only go on the pieces of land, and they have boards that they can go across, but they have to help each other and rely on each other. And then the teacher can play the advocate or whatever, and the teacher can touch a person and say, you must now close your eyes, and then this is good to do with the problem solvers, because then they can't see the layout and they have to rely on the other classmates to help them through. Or the teacher can touch a person and say you become lame, and now you must depend on others to carry you across, and different scenarios like that.
Okay, Thursday, students will rely on each other to accomplish tasks and build relationships with their classmates. One of the activities that in this lesson is that the students would be given a topic like get into order by your birthday, but they cannot talk during this. So they're learning to work with each other. Without communication, that's not very realistic, but it's realizing how important communication is, and they have to line themselves up by height, their birthday, or something like that, and try to beat their time. The second activity, on Not the Rope, is what I called it. We did this at where I work. We did this just like as a employee bonding type of activity also. But there's just a rope, and it has, we did 8 knots, but however many students you have. And one student stands on this side and the opposite, you know, and they stand all the way down the rope. And they have to get the knots out of the rope without letting go with that hand. So they have to work together, and I had discussion questions for all these activities for what did we learn from this? Why is it important that you have these relationships with your classmates or your friends, or, you know, we can relate it to family and outside the classroom also.
And then to wrap up week 1, there was another lesson on communication, and the students will discover how good communication is key in building relationships among friends, family, and others you may be close to. And I had them just doing a communication acrostic, and they'd just write what communication means to them or how they use it to build their relationships. And then for the second part, I just wanted them to know that listening is also a part of communication, so they need to listen to their friends and also tell their friends when they have a problem arise. So there was a little scenario pieces of paper that the students would receive, and with a partner they would take turns listening and speaking the scenarios and then just discussing them. And then problem solving was the next day, and this was the objective was students will practice problem solving as a team, and they should understand that problem solving is an important aspect in relationships. And this was the game that Bridget talked about last week that we did in Mr. Self's class with the Beanie Babies, but I found it on the internet as a lesson playing with using balls. And just to problem solve as a team, they'll have to how the game goes is you throw a ball to someone in the team, and like you say their name, and then eventually everyone in the whole group is throwing a ball to somebody else, and it's just like a big chain reaction. If you're not in Mr. Self's class, that's how the game works. And so they have to problem solve how they can get each team member to be incorporated in that activity. And what they have to realize is that some people have to throw it up while some people have to throw it down, and some people have to throw it sideways, because you can't all throw them in the middle or else they're all going to hit each other. So.
Okay, this lesson was about how it's better to work together than to work against each other. I don't know if any of you have ever done this, but if you stand in a circle and everyone sits at the same time, like then you're all sitting on each other's laps, and it wouldn't work if not everyone was participating, you know, people would fall. So we do that and show them, this is actually the lesson that we handed out also. Do that and have, you know, them see how it's better if you're all working together. If one person, you know, tries to rebel or step out, then it's not going to work. But it, you know, it's a circle and everyone works together. And then there's a second circle activity where they just stand in a circle and hold hands, and every other person leans in or out. So like all the ones lean in, all the twos lean out. They counterbalance each other. If one person didn't do it again, it wouldn't work out for everyone else. And then the second activity for that lesson, there was a list of words, longer words like relationships, friendships, I can't remember what they all are now, but each group, groups of 4 or however many, would be assigned a word from the word list, and they'd have to work, you know, independently to come up with as many smaller words from that large word as they can. And then we would do the activity again, only each person in the group would have a different word, and it would show how many more words you can get if your whole group is working together rather than working by yourself. Okay, this is a teamwork activity. First I would read a teamwork book that I found in the library. It was really good. It incorporated, you know, teamwork in all aspects of life, and it ended with family. The students would be given materials like toothpicks. You could alter it however you wanted, like tape, marshmallows are good because they stick together, or popsicle sticks, anything like that. And they would have a minute to strategize, and their goal is to make the largest structure without it, you know, falling over. And the team would have to work together, communicate, use their strategy, for the end result. Okay, the group decisions lesson. I found a story, it's called The Fowler. It's basically about, I don't know if some of you probably have seen the movie Finding Nemo, where the fish are all swimming down to pull the net, and they're working together, and Dory, or whatever it is telling everybody swim down, swim down. It's basically the same story, only with birds flying up to get free from the net. I thought that was really neat. It tied into the group work. And the activity to follow up with that story would be give the students a list of, I think there was 10 or 12 people, and the world's coming to an end, and you're going on a space shuttle, and you have to decide between these 12 people who gets to go with you. And there's just like brief characteristics of each person, you know, age, occupation, you know, maybe like a strong belief that they have. And so the group would have to decide together which one of these people get to go with you on the spaceship. And it would be another working together type of activity.
And then the last one was also, to wrap it all up, was working together. The students will understand that relationships take work from both sides, and they will learn that people must work together to make a relationship work. And the students will be given a prompt, what's the most important aspect that you think is involved in building a relationship. And then after they discussed these and wrote about it, then the teacher would share, in my opinion, I would probably say unity in that, so there was no confrontation, and then there was no disunity in a group, and that everyone works together as one team towards a common goal. And then to do the concluding activity of our unit, we had split up the class into teams, and then also split up a couple of the people weren't on a team and they were working individually, and they must build a bridge using like those sponge foam blocks. And they, the point of it is to see which group or person can build the longest bridge and the most sturdy bridge, and you test it with things. And then at the end of the activity, you discuss how obviously the group of the people working together helped each other out, and they were able to build a better, more sturdy bridge that would last longer, and that signified that relationships will last longer if you work together and you have unity. And then the person who is working by themselves trying to build the bridge obviously is not going to be able to go much further than your arm's width. So that was the end.
Wow. Powerful activity.